Welcome to
Spread the Word!
2022. I don't know about you,
But I'm feeling 2022.
Okay, so I read this book, How High We Go in the Dark by Sequoia Nagamatsu. I picked this up because I do tend to like the man versus nature angle, especially if nature is winning. This book was that for about like a chapter, and then it went 10 different directions.
Wow.
The first perspective is a man whose daughter died on an expedition in the Arctic where she uncovered an ancient corpse of this, I think, 8-year-old girl. But she is carrying a virus.
Oh god.
Something that I didn't think about with like melting ice. Yeah.
Nightmare fuel.
Mm-hmm. Is all of those
bacteria that was caught in there hasn't been around for a long time.
Yeah, preserved for
or viruses.
Yeah, viruses, bacteria has been sitting under there, and now that all of that's melting, it can get out into the world. So that's like the first chapter. And so I was like, okay, we're gonna go on this journey with him. He's trying to figure out what's going on with this ancient corpse. And then we like skip to another perspective altogether. Sometime in the future, at this point, the virus is in the world.
Yeah.
And you kind of assume that because people are dying and at alarming rates, that the crew that was, doing the expedition is probably dead too, including the man who was the first perspective. So you don't really want to get attached to characters in this book for sure. Because, I mean, it's probably like 10 different perspectives. You go from like that first perspective in the second chapter, you're at an amusement park where parents bring their children to die, basically, like euthanasia. Yeah. Parents were just losing their kids every which way, and nothing was working, and so this amusement park popped up where they could kind of have like one final day to have fun. Kids were getting sick first, actually.
Oh, okay.
Kind of the opposite of COVID. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's called an amusement park?
Yeah, the kids don't know. And they're putting them on, they go through the park, and the last ride they go on is a roller coaster, and they basically, give them a shot of something right before they get on, and then, as they're going up over the hill, they go down the hill, and they're all screaming because they're happy, and then it goes silent because the drugs kicked in.
That is so
While all the parents are, watching, crying.
What? I just feel like that is still a terrible asshole who invented that business model. It was like, let's take advantage of this terrible thing.
Yeah. The second perspective is of this man who gets a job there because he needs a job. And he, with the first time he meets his boss, he's like, you're going to be in charge of taking care of any runners. So these are, families that have changed their minds. Yeah. It's bad. It's a pretty bad virus. One of the things that the explorers found, when they unearthed her, they found that she had the genes of an octopus and a starfish or something like that. Yeah, you find out that the virus it's almost forces your body into shape shifting.
Huh.
So your organs shape shift and
Could be
your
cool,
skin starts
but
glowing.
not cool.
Yeah. And so then you have organ failure and all that stuff because obviously the human body is what? No, this isn't what we do. And all of the characters in it are of Asian descent. And I guess the author started to write this 10 years ago.
Oh, interesting.
And what's really interesting is obviously the virus here, they know where it originates from, but to think about COVID and how many Asian people were targeted and were the victims of hate crimes because of COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then she wrote this book, and it's all Asian perspectives.
Yeah.
And it's about a virus. I don't know, I think that's very profound.
Yeah.
To think about it within the scope of what's going on. This is not for the faint of heart, emotionally. A lot of people die in this. This really affected me with the roller coaster thing.
It's a really stark image.
Yes, yes. And I believe in assisted suicide.
Yeah.
For sure.
But for kids going into it not knowing, that's not the same as assisted suicide.
No.
Either.
So I'm just saying that's not what bothered me about it.
Right, no.
You know? It was just so well written and so profound and so unlike anything I'd ever read. I mean, like, you can comp it to Cloud Atlas and you can comp it to Station 11, but it's really because those are the closest things to it. But it can stand on its own. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I gave it 5 stars.
So, I did Olga Dies Dreaming. I know.
It's beautiful.
Right?
Yep.
Very contemporary. It takes place in Brooklyn, and it's these 2 siblings, Olga and her brother Prieto. They are Nuyorican, so they are children of Puerto Rican immigrants. Their parents were part of the Lords, which is a Puerto Rican independence group. And one of the things I talked about a lot when I was reading this was, wow, I had no idea there was so much about Puerto Rican independence. Sorry, anyone who's Puerto Rican, I'm ignorant. Their parents were part of the Lords when they were younger. They were sort of like young radicals. Then they got married and had kids and sort of like settled down. Well, the dad settled down and got revisited a drug issue, and he ended up dying of complications from AIDS. And then their mom actually just pieced out to become part of the resistance. And so interspersed in the book are these letters from their mom. She's like essentially abandoned them, but she sends these letters kind of commenting on their life. So somehow she still has tabs on like what they're doing, and will send them things. Like at one point she breaks up Olga and one of her boyfriends because she's like
from afar.
Yeah, basically, because like she still has this hold over them, you know, like not only are they like, you're our mom, they're also like sort of buy into this idea that she's off doing this higher thing. So it's like acceptable that she left them.
Yeah.
So like that's a big current like running through the whole book. And it's also sometimes like, is she just a crazy radical and like this is never going to happen, but she's just going to live in the mountains thinking that she's building this resistance.
Yeah.
Versus, oh shit, is she like really going to take over Puerto Rico?
Oh god.
Yeah, it could go either way.
Right.
With those
Right.
those movements often.
Right. I mean,
It's
yeah,
true.
it's a very fine line, and you do have to be, I think, so solely consumed by that.
Mm-hmm.
The story kind of centers in in 2017. It's sort of a lot of it's building up to to Maria, Hurricane Maria. So Olga is a wedding planner, and she has kind of like, she went to an Ivy League school, really built her business from the ground up, felt like she was going after the American dream of like becoming rich, and a little bit chased the dream of becoming famous. But then she did it like a reality TV show that went not so well. And her brother runs for office for city council in Brooklyn, and then is like U.S. congressman when like 2017 is actually happening, but has fallen under the thumb of some developer, really rich people in New York because he is closeted as a gay man, and still feels like, and they're able to leverage that over him, which is, it's like, it is, the book also does like a good point of like, based on his age, of like why that's still, he's like, I get that people don't care about this anymore, but like coming from this like culture that still puts a lot on like machismo and stuff, and he just, anyway, so that's like another big part of the book as well. It is really good. I mean, not only do you get that perspective of like the immigrant experience, I'm not an immigrant, but I also felt like I really connected with Olga. Like her perspective was super, like she's about our age now, I think, maybe like a little bit older. I was like, yeah, I get where you're coming from 100%. The other interesting thing I thought about with this was, which I hadn't thought of before with any sort of like revolutionary movement, but you have to be so nationalistic, which also could go a bad direction if you don't reel it in after the revolution is happening. That doesn't get into, this is just where my brain went with this after, but
if you're not willing to like cede, to like be like, okay, now we need somebody who can govern who's not me.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I thought it was very engaging and very well written.
So this month I read Mercy Street by Jennifer Hay, who's the author of Heat and Light. This takes place in the world of abortion politics.
Oh,
yes.
As we're living it right now.
Everybody has an opinion, and very few people actually will ever, who have the strongest opinions, ever have any actual touch point on it. So we follow Claudia, who for more than a decade has been working at this clinic on Mercy Street in Boston. She did not start her career there. She started as an advice columnist for like a very hoity-toity magazine, giving advice to like rich people. And she was like, I grew up in a trailer and I made like what she calls cheesy ramen, which is ramen with Velveeta for dinner. And now I'm giving people it. I know it does sound really good. I really want to make it. She has this life that she's like crafted as a young woman. That life falls apart but not in a bad way. It, like, was not a fit for her, and she like finds herself eventually going to volunteer at Mercy Street, and then eventually she becomes, I don't remember her actual title, but her job is to counsel the intakes, they call. So those are people who are looking for abortions, which they call ABs. Oftentimes, you know, she'll encounter people who are past the cutoff. And then it's, you know, securing them transportation to another state where the cutoff is like a week or two later. She is divorced, and when she's not working at the clinic, she is smoking a whole bunch of weed. You can't laugh. And she has a really funny dealer named Timmy.
What grown man goes by Timmy?
Weed dealer. He was in the military, but now he just sells weed in Boston. It's like he's real good at it.
Yeah.
He knows his market. He knows the business side of it. So that's the second character that you follow, and then the third character you follow is called Victor Prine. He's an anti-abortionist. He started a website called the Hall of Shame, where he solicits people to go around to abortion clinics across the country and take pictures of people going in for abortions. He has a friend in Boston who like goes and takes pictures at the abortion clinic at Mercy Street. Goes to Mercy Street, takes pictures there. Eventually ends up getting like obsessed with who ends up being Claudia, and is just like obsessed with her from afar because he like crafts this story, and in like he does this with all the people that he takes pictures of, and in it you discover he's extremely misogynistic. Surprise. And very racist. Very, very racist. Oh my god, this was like this. I knew that this was an argument that people had for being anti-abortion. He's told some statistic that a white woman born in 1958 will have on average like 1.2 children, and a black woman in 1958 will have on average 4 children. And so like black people are going to take over America, and that's the worst thing that could happen. So his goal is specifically getting white women to not abort their children. It's so terrible. It's terrible. The fourth person that you do follow in the book is Victor's friend.
His friend who's taking the pictures for him?
Yes. Anthony. His claim to fame is that he got hit in the head on the job and now lives on disability in his mother's basement. And he is a webmaster for an Irish Catholic heritage website. He's actually a nice guy.
But like led astray by
religion. He just has nothing better to do than be on the internet. And he's very religious. I feel like I grew up going to a parochial school, so the religious argument is kind of the one that I default to for why somebody would be anti-abortion. And I think in a lot of ways it's the most palatable for me. Like I am pro-choice. That's the only way I can think about it. Like that's the most palatable way for me to like connect with somebody who does not share that viewpoint.
And you get into the whole like, well, like laws should not be, as far as like people that with religious views, like laws should not be rooted in religion, but unfortunately our government is rooted in Christianity. And then you get into that whole, you know, just
but there's still way more of a basis in conversation there.
Yeah.
Than
it's still frustrating to me.
It's still very, very frustrating.
But I get it, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
there's things to talk about. There's like, it's not a dead end.
And you can kind of be like, the fact that our government is based in Christianity is already wrong. Like, it shouldn't be that way.
Right.
So if you're going to use that to bolster your argument, well, that is the reality, but it shouldn't be.
Right.
So, and that's why we are.
Yeah, by the framing of the government, it should be that way.
Right.
It's not a matter of opinion.
Right.
I know that people who do have a much more sinister reason.
Yeah.
Are like, I know that they exist, but I hadn't ever really sat with the idea, and so that was just really interesting to think about why some people and like the kind of people who do go and stake out clinics and do put themselves in like the hardest day of somebody's life, their motivations for it.
Yeah.
And Jess was like, oh, that makes me very angry.
Yeah.
I think that's the most frustrating part is like, I really want there to be a solid argument here so that I can engage with you in a rational manner.
But you can't engage with that because it's totally not rational. And then it's just totally someone not thinking about something critically or empathetically or even trying to put themselves in that person's like life experience, which any reader can do.
Agreed.
And I also feel very strongly about Rachel Green's statement of no uterus, no opinion. But we'll never get anywhere with that argument.
Right. Very different books this evening.
Yeah.
This is definitely a novel of, I mean, it's character driven.
Yeah, it is very thought provoking. All of the books are very thought provoking. Well, thanks for tuning in to Spread the Word. January 2022.
Yeah.
All day.
All day.
You should never do that again. You should do that all the time.
On the show, they do it multiple times, and they just keep repeating it after each other. Thanks, writers of New Girl.
So, thanks for tuning in, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Good luck on your resolutions.
Yes.